Hello. I have to admit I was completely thrown off by this setup. It reminded me of a late night I had at a silent disco nightclub in Napa several years ago. But anyway, it's a pleasure to be here. Good afternoon. I spotted some of my colleagues have shown up. Thank you for that round of applause. And I've some ex-colleagues I saw and one or two competitors. So no heckling at the back, if possible, from those guys. But anyway, so my name is Johnny Winn. I'm head of advertising at Virgin Media O2, and I also look after gaming from a brand perspective. And I'm here to talk to you today about a project that is near and dear to my heart, and that project is the O2 and Fortnite. And it was actually a project that was developed before we had our merger with Virgin Media. So it was when we were just O2, but actually it went live almost exactly a year ago after we had merged. And I think this product is worthy of your attention for three reasons. Firstly, it was something that it came about in trying circumstances. It was born out of the pandemic. We developed it during and partly as a result of the pandemic. And of course, I'm sure all of you have had products in that same circumstance. But I guess what was interesting for us was that I think it's an interesting case study of an example of a brand that has done well when confronted with a difficult situation. Secondly, it was treading completely new territory for everyone involved. For my business, for my brand, for me personally as an otherwise fairly experienced marketer who had done smaller scale gaming activations, for AEG who owned the O2, for our agencies, for the labels, even for Epic Games themselves who had never done a collaboration like this. And that meant that it was an uphill battle in terms of getting buy-in from stakeholders. And also it was a Byzantine complexity in terms of managing all those stakeholders and indeed my own matrix organization. And thirdly, and despite those challenges, I guess what was true to today's No Guts, No Glory theme, it was a gamble that definitely paid off for us, and a gamble it most certainly was. The activation was immensely successful for O2. It massively shifted our brand metrics among gamers. Fortnite engagement metrics went through the roof. To this day, Epic Games have told us that it is the most successful brand collaboration that they've ever done on the platform. We more than doubled engagement on our Priority app, which is our key loyalty platform. It gave us global PR coverage. And it also led to outstanding working relationships with Epic Games and with Universal Music, both of whom are now partners of ours, and which has stood us in good stead going forward. I would also say that it actually in some ways has been transformative for our newly merged business, because going into this merger, it meant that it's given us some credibility around gaming. But I don't want to focus too much today on the successes, because those are a dime a dozen, especially at an event like this. I want to talk to you today about the challenges that I encountered in the development of this project, because the challenges I think are interesting. It's always interesting to peel back the curtains. Everything looks so smooth when you open the curtains, but actually behind the scenes it was pretty chaotic. What I hope today take out for you guys is that you can take away some of the learnings that I'm happy to give to you today, but that came from encountering these various challenges. And I'm happy to take questions at the end if there are any. I'm now just going to play you guys a video which will do a better job of explaining to you what this activation actually was all about, and then I'll catch you guys afterwards.
The O2, bringing the thrill of live music to millions for over a decade until
coronavirus has hit the UK.
There is a third wave underway.
Britain's live music scene is in crisis.
Those crowds may never return.
O2 just had to find a way to keep gigs alive and musicians and fans safe. So we built the world's most popular venue in the world's biggest game. Somewhere even COVID couldn't reach. Together with Epic Games, we rebuilt the O2 in Fortnite to put on the first ever gig in creative mode, along with incredible rides, backstage areas, and hidden collectibles, creating a truly player-first experience.
What's up, O2? Welcome to the show.
Then we introduced our headliner, Island Records breakout band Easy Life, to help launch their debut album. Players loved it as we took them on a helter-skelter ride through the band's imagination. This wasn't gigs recreated, it was gigs reimagined. as we effectively sold out every seat in the O2 for the next 2 years. Big name gaming influencers rallied to spread the word.
Join the map code on screen.
I've never seen a creative Fortnite map to this standard.
While we got our customers, gamers, and Easy Life fans amped up. We even dropped must-have virtual items in-game, like our Squeezy Life spray and exclusive in-game track, the first collaboration between Fortnite and a band. And the crowd went wild, along with the press.
All of this has been recreated inside the game Fortnite.
The O2 in Fortnite is the next pioneering step for virtual gigs and a giant leap in bringing our world-class experiences to a whole new audience.
Lads, I can't believe we're actually playing the O2.
Great, so hopefully that gives you guys a snippet of what the activation was. It was a week-long activation, like I said, a year ago. But first I just wanted to talk about why we got into this, and obviously the pandemic played a big role. Our priority app, which is our main USP as a brand in many ways, the largest loyalty app in the UK by various metrics, millions of people tune into it each week, was completely neutered by this, by the pandemic, because it was completely predicated on live experiences. Similarly, our 22 venues up and down the country, including the O2, were completely shut down, so live entertainment was dead in the water. And at the same time, with everyone stuck at home, we knew that home entertainment was taking off and that UK gaming was as well. So we knew that the UK was gaming more than ever. But taking a step back even further, why gaming in the first place? It always frustrated me as both a gamer and as a marketer that O2 had never tapped into the potential of gaming. And I was seeing other brands do this in other sectors very well, but at O2 we didn't really take it that seriously, if I'm honest. And so ahead of the pandemic, actually, myself and our head of innovation internally, we co-authored an internal white paper where we set out to outline what our positioning around gaming should be for O2. We made a recommendation that it should be that we should be the network of choice for gamers, much in the same way that we had done so in other passion points like music, with our niche around live music, and with sport, with England Rugby, our sponsorship of that. We wanted to create something that, a degree of loyalty to the brand above the vagaries of our network deals or our tariff deals, our data coverage. Something that would really just, irrespective of all of that, they would stick with us because we were into gaming and they were gamers. What was remarkable when we kind of did a deep dive into this was that there was no telco globally who had actually nailed gaming. There was no case study for this. And actually that was, it was bizarre, I found, because it's an absolute, we're a very commoditized sector. We all sell the same phones, we sell the same invisible air. So it was bizarre that this pure, amazing brand potential hadn't really been capitalized on. As a result, there were no case studies, and so we were unable to get sort of official senior stakeholder buy-in. Though we knew we wanted to get into gaming, we didn't have any official remit. Nevertheless, the silver lining of this pandemic was that it caused a bit of desperation for us. All of our stores were shut, like I said, our venues, our app was completely neutered. So this actually catalyzed our latent desire to get into gaming, because the opportunity was too good to ignore, and all of a sudden we were quite desperate to do it. So then became about what do we do and who do we do it with? And I'm going to draw out that question today by talking to you about the 5 main challenges that we faced. So challenge number 1 is selling the vision. When that vision is a Hail Mary or a big punt. This is a slide where actually it was kind of like the no-go moment with my chief marketing officer. And what's interesting about this challenge is that I'm sure many of you are used to selling visions. I know that I am. You get a product, you have a concept you develop for it, you get your internal stakeholders on board, your external stakeholders are all singing from the same hymn sheet, and then eventually you get it live market. In this case, there was no precedence for this, and so I sort of had to come about with a new methodology, if you will, which I call iterative selling in. And this is the idea that in order to progress the development of a concept that hasn't yet been formulated, you create a critical mass of stakeholders to help you pull together the concept, and then then that gives you the momentum you need to make it happen. So what do I mean by this? So imagine if you have like a pyramid, if you will, and at the top is the glimmer of what we wanted to achieve, the vision, which is to get into gaming. First, VCP came up with the idea, and they came up with they're a creative agency, they came up with the idea of putting the O2 into Fortnite, and that was inspired by the Travis Scott activation in Fortnite, which was interesting to us in many ways. First of all, because it showed us that Fortnite was a game, Epic Game were a publisher that were willing to experiment. They never did the same thing twice. And second of all, because it was a music activation, and so we felt that perhaps music could be a Trojan horse for us into this space. Luckily, we had an existing relationship with Epic Games. We had taken Tim Sweeney, their CEO, to the O2 a few years prior to that to try to get them doing something around esports. Didn't work out. We called them up. We spoke to them about this opportunity. They were tentatively interested in it. We then spoke to our sponsorship team. They got A&G involved. They were also interested. All of a sudden, we had two parties who had a vested interest in making this happen. I spoke to Havas, our media agency, and on purpose, I asked them to go quite big with a proposal. Because another kind of learning here is that it's much easier to sculpt down from a big ass than it is. It's much easier to be dismissed with a small ass than it is to tailor down from a bigger one. We got the labels on board, and we even, when we were speaking to artists, we were even asking artists who declined us sometimes to introduce us to other artists that might be of interest. And actually, we ended up pulling together this kind of unstoppable momentum. When I finally went to my marketing director with a neat gift wrapped with a bow proposal, he of course said no because it was way too much money, but it piqued his interest, and therefore we were able to kind of sculpt it down from that point. So I guess the learning here was, if there is ambiguity in your project, I recommend this process of getting as many people on board so that you can collate the concept together, and you can also create that momentum. And also to aim big so that you can sculpt smaller if need be. Challenge number 2 was our right to play in question. So we knew that Epic Games was obviously harnessing the power of their platform with other brands. I guess what we didn't expect was that some of those other activations might adversely affect ours. So in this case, Verizon, this is about after 6 months of development, Verizon launched a Super Bowl where they built a stadium. So here's a telco building a stadium activation. It was hugely successful in terms of engagement. But actually, in terms of player sentiment, it was terrible. It looks like a big monster corporate, making a power move into their beloved game, and they were just kind of advertising out with a 5G message. There was no real rhyme or reason to it. And this panicked Epic Games, who came to us. I got a call saying, you know what, we're thinking about canceling this whole thing because here's a telco failing fast and hard, doing something kind of similar to what you guys are doing. So why should we be doing it with you? And this showed us two things. One was that it made us lean into music for our activation more so than we were anticipating. We knew that DNA was part of the music was in our DNA. 75% of gig tickets in this country come through our venues. The O2 is bigger than Madison Square Garden as an entertainment venue. We knew that it wasn't disingenuous for us to go into the space. And really, what we wanted to do was just do justice to the O2 as it is in real life. And secondly, and I should hasten to add that was respected by Epic Games. They reacted positively to that, and they let us therefore actually continue the project. But secondly, and this was a hypothesis of ours, was that we knew that the platform could act as a media channel, but this activation showed us that it undoubtedly was. In other words, we didn't need to spend a whole bunch of media in order to have a mass reach. That was actually unnecessary because the game itself was the platform. So the learning in all this is, I guess, when others falter, figure out what your point of difference is and exploit that. And also, you must absolutely not act hesitant when confronted with this type of challenge, even if you feel that you are, as I was. Challenge number 3, and this wins the award for the most shit slide at MadFest, and I apologize, but it does actually reflect what actually happened in terms of this actually looked like our stakeholder group. There's actually some notes from our head of innovation, Alex Delman at VCP, trying to herd together all the cats. Once you have your group of stakeholders together, it's critical that you establish cohesion and with a core group. So early on, we really struggled with this because, like I said, it was an unofficial project. Everyone had their day jobs. This was like a side hobby that I was trying to do. So it was very difficult in the early months of this project to get people's time and to get any kind of accountability. So those early months were very wieldy. And indeed, our project almost died, a dozen times. We had these very near-death experiences. At inception, where we realized we had no concept, no budget, no senior stakeholder buy-in. When we had Verizon Gate, when the Foo Fighters turned around and asked for £3 million for 3 hours of work. We had Applegate. So Applegate was when the eccentric CEO, Tim Sweeney, I mentioned earlier, of Epic Games, decided to single-handedly try to take down the Apple Store, the biggest antitrust case in the 21st century. So 3/4 of the way through our project, all the Epic guys were getting deposed by the New York State Attorney General, and ahead of this big trial, so couldn't come to any of our meetings. So that was a massive problem. We were playing piggy in the middle between the labels and Epic Games in terms of getting music into the game. So contractual nightmares. We also had a last-minute kind of massive problem, which is that Epic Games didn't want us to use priority as our conduit in the game because they wanted a completely inclusive game, no barriers. But of course, our USP as a brand is that the app is literally called Priority, where it's predicated on giving exclusive access to our customers. So we had to scrap that and redesign the project at the last minute. So all this to say is that on this type of ambiguous, unwieldy project, we would not have survived these near-death experiences had it not been for sort of military discipline instilled in the ranks. 1 or 2 corps generals, lieutenants. I really used military terminology. I can't emphasize this enough. Without that kind of rigor and discipline at any of those near-death experiences, this project could have died. Challenge number 4, so working in the dark. I frequently found myself quoting Donald Rumsfeld, of all people, on this project. He coined the phrase, there are known knowns, there are known unknowns, and then there are unknown unknowns. The known knowns for us were pretty simple. We knew we wanted to get into gaming. We knew we didn't want to do mobile gaming because mobile gaming is something that's too casual for us. We wanted to go after core users. We knew we needed to partner with a AAA publisher, and we knew that we needed to have an ownable position within this. In terms of the known unknowns, a lot of these came about when we were trying to measure success. So, would people get involved? Are we a brand that can successfully foray into mainstream gaming? Can Priority, our app, be successfully used as a conduit for our customers into this game and create that mass in-game player engagement? Would people talk about it? What's the appetite for this kind of activation, both among the music industry and the gaming industry, and indeed amongst our own audiences? Will it strengthen our brand and shift the dial on brand affinity with gamers? Would it resonate with families of teenagers? Would we want to pursue this line of activation in future if it was a success? Is Fortnite the right game? Are Epic Games the right partner? All these questions are sort of, we can anticipate them. We can anticipate these questions ahead of time. And then there are the unknown unknowns, and I guess this is obviously the most scary ones. But the first one is that Epic Games were very coy in sharing data with us. So basically, they didn't share any. So we knew the game was big, obviously, but we didn't know how big it was. We didn't know what the audience makeup was, really. And they would only PR good data, so it was very hard for us to kind of figure out what was, what good looked like as a result. And likewise, O2 had no data at all for this. And that's remarkable, because usually we've got data coming out of our ears. We're a telco company. But we had no precedence for this type of activation, which meant that we were building this in a complete vacuum. And then lastly, on the unknown unknowns is a general reputational risk to the brand. So obviously we'd seen Verizon fail hard and fast. That was a big risk, and we just had no idea whether this was going to work. Ultimately, one of the convincing kind of lines of argument that I use is the idea that, even if we fail miserably, we will nonetheless have learned an enormous amount. And maybe the answer to all those unknowns and knowns would just be no, but at least we would know that. And the easiest thing to do is to just not do, but then you won't learn anything. So conversely, if you do it, you will, and you'll be able to answer those questions. Challenge number 5, technology is a bitch. So this is an email like 3 hours before we were supposed to go live. Absolute chaos. All the sound and all the video completely collapsed. We were 8 hours late, I think, ultimately getting this product live. And it was complete pandemonium. And I guess this for us was a real wake-up call. This type of last-minute chaos, as we found out, was completely normal in the gaming industry. The gaming industry is an extremely last-minute project, and project management is unsustainable. So we ran into countless limitations to our concept in terms of SLAs, in terms of in-game build. So I guess the critical learning here is that if you are going into a big gaming activation like we have, plan for and anticipate the worst. And clearly you need a thick skin and to be comfortable with a high degree of ambiguity, because shit like this happens left, right, and center. I mean, literally, it was happening almost on a weekly basis. So what's next for us? Well, like I said, this launched shortly after our merger, and that was great because we merged with Virgin Media, who are a broadband company. Gaming is kind of in their DNA. And yet this gave us credibility going into that, and it has actually influenced VMO2's gaming positioning. So we now have a we now have a, what we call a gaming squad, but we now have like a bird's eye view internally of all the different gaming activations that we do across the business, and we implemented the organizational structure that we used on this project for that. It was also good for everyone involved, so obviously our customers were over the moon. It was incredible results for the O2 brand. Easy Life, our band, had an enormous boost in streams and social media followers, and it was an extremely innovative campaign and project. So, I led our pitch between Ab and Eve and VCP for the newly joined business earlier this year, and VCP put this as one of their innovation credentials, and it gave us the confidence that they could deliver this kind of large-scale innovation. In summary, the rewards of this project completely outweighed the risk, and in fact, it was much more successful than we could have anticipated, and it's had a multiplier effect in terms of opening doors for us. It's changed our paradigm and how we approach gaming internally as a newly merged business. And so certainly speaking for O2, I would say it demonstrated that guts are a fundamental requisite of glory. Thank you very much.
Thanks so much.